Hello, and welcome to our production and content creation tutorial. In this video, we'll go over the essential aspects of your live event production, as well as go over simple tips for content creation and execution with your new system. To start out, let's go over the main goals of your video board production. The first goal will be to honor your sponsor obligations if you have them. Sponsors that do give money expect to have their logo and message on your display and expect it will be presented correctly. If there are a number of sponsor obligations that need to be honored during an event, some people find it helpful to keep a sponsor verification sheet, which we'll go over later, to track and execute each sponsored element during your event. Once you've honored those sponsor obligations, a second goal is to provide your audience with a fun atmosphere using live shots and crowd prompts. This also involves using replays and even fan cams to keep your crowd entertained. Your responsibility is to give your crowd something they cannot see from their seats. And finally, it's a good idea to inform fans with statistical and game in progress information. Fans have an expectation to utilize your display to be informed with stats and for replays so they can re-watch that game-changing play. Now that you have this new display and your video equipment, it's important to figure out where to start. First, it's important to designate at least one or two people to take ownership of your control room and game day production. There's a lot of preparation work that needs to be done before and during games that needs to be managed in order to put on a successful show. This person or persons will need to make sure all content is recreated, delivered, loaded, and scripted on the displays. They'll also conduct regular maintenance checks to make sure the displays are running correctly, as well as all video equipment is up to date. They'll also create and update game day scripts for all events. If you have a content provider, such as Daktronics Creative Services, this person will serve as the liaison with that group for content development. First and foremost, make sure that this game day producer and your marketing and sponsorship staff are on the same page. It's important that these two groups communicate about what kind of show will be produced. These conversations are crucial when putting together a game script to ensure sponsors are getting the space and time they're paying for. Another conversation should also be about whether sponsors will have time based on game time or real time. There are pros and cons with each option, but it's important that everyone is on the same page so each sponsor understands and receives what they're expecting. There are also many things to consider when laying out your display. First, you want to determine the size and position of your video or window where your live video and animations will go. Keep in mind that your aspect ratio will be determined by your front-end video equipment and will impact the size of your video. Next, know what you want to display in regards to data and stats information and have a plan for doing so. Determine how and where you want game in progress information represented. Decide what type of situational or individual stats that will be displayed and how you're going to present them, whether with headshots or just their names. Determine when this information will be displayed. Will it be displayed all times? Will it be displayed during breaks or during certain plays? Keep in mind that data and stats you present will be dictated by the software you're using, such as DaxStats. Determine how you're going to exhibit your sponsors and advertisers. Some sponsors may require just static space during the game, even while others have animated content that will require a certain number of showings throughout the event. Knowledge of the size and location of the sold inventory, as well as time and exclusivity, are key factors to consider. Keep in mind, moments of exclusivity can directly impact how time is sold. Knowing this information will help determine the layouts of your display. It's not uncommon to have several different layouts to account for pre-game, event and in-game, and even mid-event needs. Once you've decided the layouts, you'll need to determine the pixel dimensions for each section. This will determine how your sponsors will size their content or how your content provider will size the content based on your layout. In addition to the one person that's overseeing the control room during the events, there are even more crew positions that are necessary to put on a successful show. Keep in mind, this is just a general overview depending on the size of your displays, the capabilities of your front-end equipment, and your individual skill sets and the type of show you intend to produce. For each event, make sure you have a script written with consistent language between the button names and your control software, and the file names listed on the script.
Now we'll go over the different crew positions you'll see during a video display production. Each control room staff is different based on your displays, your front-end equipment, the individual skill sets, and type of show you intend to produce. Like we said before, common staff positions for game day may include a producer, a director or technical director, a clip server operator, a show control operator for your matrix boards and your main video display, a replay operator, your main camera person, any additional cameras, grips, an engineer, and an audio engineer. Remember, not all of these positions may be necessary as every control room is different.
Starting on the left of this diagram, you will have a director who will call all of the camera shots, replays, commercials, etc. They're the person in charge of what you see on the display and are the main communicator while on headset. Everything on that display will be a result of what a director calls. A good director knows what elements will keep the crowd entertained and informed. The director communicates a lot of this info to the camera operators, telling them where to go and what to shoot. The camera operators, as you can see in the next line, cover all game action and will be the eyes for the director to see all of the subjects on the field or in your event. Sometimes there is also a producer that will either sit in the control room or up in a press box or scorer's table to guide the production crew through the game script, which we'll go over in the next section of this video. For example, the director may say, ready camera 1, take camera 1, ready team stats, take team stats, ready camera 2, take camera 2, and so on. But before the director can begin calling shots, the event must be pre-produced. Moving on, the replay operator will most likely have direct access to each camera angle and be able to record each of those angles simultaneously. Once they see an interesting event, they'll mark it and be ready to play it back at a moment's notice. This person sometimes has a pen and paper handy to further detail the different events that they've marked throughout an event. Next, we have a show control operator that will be the one playing stats and crowd prompts on the display as called by the director. During athletic events, the show control operator receives a data feed from the stats operator that will automatically update as soon as the data is updated. Most of the time, the show control operator will not sit in the main video control room. They will likely be in a position where they can see the display, whether that's a press box or a scorer's table. Since that person has the ability to control many displays at one time, they'll need to have the ability to see what they're putting together. The clip server operator will control any videos that have audio attached to them. That's your commercials and your intro videos, things that have audio. The audio operator will run your audio mixer and will be directed when to bring up different audio sources, either from a tape or your clip server, that will then go out to the main sound system of your facility. A stats operator is also someone who will likely not sit in the main video control room. They will either be in a press box or on a scorer's table controlling a separate stats computer. Daktronics control systems can then capture this stats data and output it as real-time data for displaying on your sign. Take a second to look over this diagram and understand what each position holds in your production. Like we said previously, your video board production will likely have a central location where everything is controlled, including your camera shots, replays, and commercials. In this control room, there's some basic equipment that is used to meet your production goals. This equipment includes a video switcher. This is where all of your video sources, such as your cameras, will reside, and a director will decide what images gets put on the display. The next item you'll see are cameras. You will likely use broadcast quality cameras in your video board productions because these have the appropriate outputs that can better interface with all of your other video equipment, such as your video switcher. A replay system is also nice to have the ability to record and play back what those cameras are seeing. There will also be a separate machine for playing back pre-recorded commercials and videos via a playback server. These pre-recorded clips are loaded prior to every game. You will also see an audio mixer to control any audio that is coming out of your control room, such as your commercials and any videos with music. The next item is called terminal gear. This refers to any type of frame syncs, distribution amplifiers, and converters that help interface the different sources you have. Since a lot of your control room gear is different, this terminal gear will help in making all of those components work together. Finally, a good intercom system is an essential part of her production because it keeps your entire production crew on the same page during an event. Everyone on your crew will have some type of headset for communication. Here's an example of a control room showing its seating arrangements for the different positions we described earlier. As you can see, there's no show control operator or stats operator here in this room, as they will likely sit somewhere else close to the action, either in a press box or a scorer's table. You can also note there is a central monitor mounted on the wall that shows your director all of the sources they have available to call up from the video switcher that's sitting right in front of them. Sometimes control rooms even have more than one row of seating depending on the number of positions on your crew.